To make the mosaic heart, you'll need grout, and this is white powdered grout. You'll need clear silicone adhesive. You'll need grout sealer, and you'll need a wooden heart. Our wooden heart is about 3¼ inches across. And we also have some tiles, of course, for the mosaic. For tiles, we have some broken china pieces and some mini tiles. And then we found this cute little resin rose, and we're going to use that as well. You'll also need white spray paint primer to prime the heart, a putty knife, protective gloves, an ordinary sponge, a measuring spoon, a disposable cup to mix the grout in, a bucket to rinse your sponges in, and a foam paintbrush.
Here's our heart. We went ahead and painted it with our spray paint primer, and now we're ready to start our mosaic.
And to do the mosaic, you simply glue the tiles down onto the heart. And the glue is this 100% silicone. It's clear silicone adhesive. We got it at the hardware store. And I'm just going to put a little bit on the back of the tile. The tile has a glass front and a painted back. So this is the side that the glue goes on. And I'm just going to squeeze out a tiny bit of glue. Doesn't need much. And put the tile where I want it. And don't worry about the glue showing because the grout will cover that up.
We like to start with a border when we're doing mosaics like this. It gives us an area to work within. So you can see that Kitty's starting by gluing those tiles down around the border. And even though that's a curved edge, it doesn't matter that the tiles are square because you can just place them and there'll be a little bit of grout that'll fill in that rounded edge part.
But it makes like this nice little border there.
We picked these metallic-y blue, glittery blue tiles and the cobalty blue tiles to go with this china that we picked out. It's kind of that Delft blue and white look.
I love it.
So pretty.
It's gorgeous. These little mini tiles, this is a standard size when you're buying tiles. You can get 1-inch ones, and those are great for beautiful bathroom floors. These tiny ones are 3/8 of an inch, and they're really fun for small things like this.
This is a fun project to do as a group, like at a party or a girls' night.
Oh yeah.
You could gather up a bunch of different tiles and just put them in the middle of a table and pre-prime all of the little hearts.
That's fun.
And everyone can just make their own design as they're chatting and having a glass of wine, and it comes together pretty quickly, so it's a nice project for a party.
Yes, you can do it in real time, and everybody can go home with a cute little mosaic project. There's our border. That looks great. I got a little glue fingerprint on this one, but I can scrape that right off.
That'll probably buff off when we buff later.
The glue takes a little while to dry, so I can still move these around a little bit. I'm just bringing them out to the edge of the wood, straightening them out a little bit. They look great.
It looks nice.
So I think the next thing we want to do is put this resin rose in the center. That's a little centerpiece here.
We like having a little focal point object in this type of mosaic.
Yeah.
Because it gives you just one special thing, and then it's easy to fill in around it.
So we're going to fill in around it with these broken china plate tiles. These are just so beautiful. We love this sort of thing.
You can buy broken china tiles like this, the pre-broken china, online at places like Etsy.
Yeah, people have made a little business where they go to thrift stores and break china into tiles so that you don't have to. You can just buy bags of them. It's great.
Or if you'd like to do them on your own, you can get some beautiful, inexpensive plates at the flea market or at thrift stores.
Yes.
And then we have a video showing how easy it is to break china into little pieces for mosaics.
It's remarkably easy.
It's so easy.
Once you have the right tool.
Yeah, we show you how to use 2 different tools, tile nippers and wheel cutters. And both are very easy to use. They're inexpensive to get. You can get them at any local hardware store. And then you can make your own little broken china tiles.
Yeah. Then I'm just fitting these pieces in so that I have a little bit of space between each tile. We want grout to be between each tile. It's like this one needs to move over a little bit there.
There you go.
And because we definitely want grout between each tile. And some places will have more grout, there'll be a little bit extra grout around here, but that's okay. Or if you do learn how to cut your own tiles, you can cut these tiles even smaller so that they fit perfectly into the spaces here.
We don't mind having a little bit of extra space here and there and having it be, not perfectly even around each piece because it makes it look a little artsy, and we like that look.
Definitely handmade, and that's what we want.
Great.
Then all we need to do is let these tiles set up, let the glue set up. It takes about 30 minutes for it to get fastened onto the wood. You don't want to grout before the glue has set because you'll move the tiles. So the glue is going to hold our tiles in place so that we can do the grout next. So it's been about 30 minutes and our tiles have set up. The glue is all fixed. So we're ready to do our grout on the mosaic.
And to do that, we've got a disposable container here that we're going to do our mixing in. We like to start with the water first. Our grout package says to do, it's kind of a 3-to-1 ratio. So we're doing 1 tablespoon of water in our cup first. And that's so when we add the powder doesn't sort of fly into the air all over the place because it's very powdery. I'm going to dry my little measuring spoon off. And then here's our grout. I'm going to do 3 tablespoons of grout. And I'm going to try to do it so that the powder doesn't go all in the air. Oh, that went pretty well. 1, 2, 3. Might be a little more than 3 because I didn't sort of do baking measurements, but that's okay. We can always add a little more water.
Right.
Got our putty knife here, and we're just going to stir and then see what our consistency looks like.
And you're looking for the grout to be sort of the texture of natural peanut butter. It will be spreadable, but not runny. And you may have to add a little bit more water back in, a little at a time, to get that texture. It looks like you need a little water.
Yeah, you can see that that's pretty dry.
That's crumbly. You don't want it crumbly.
So I'm going to add a little more water. I think I'll do a half tablespoon.
Very good.
And see how that goes.
And you can buy grout that's already mixed together. We like to mix our own because then you can tint it colors if you want by adding a little bit of acrylic paint, and it also gives us more control over the texture. In some places where it's more humid or more dry, you'll need to add more water or less water depending.
So I actually think we might have gotten a little too...
Are we too runny? Let's see what that looks like. That's a good lesson.
How does that texture look? Maybe possibly a little bit too
runny? It's a tiny bit too runny, but only barely. So I think
I'm going to do a teeny amount of the
grout.
Just
a little bit.
What do you think, like that much?
I think that's good. That was like a half of a teaspoon maybe added back to it.
You can see we've got our gloves on because the grout packaging says that you've got to use gloves.
It has some kinds of cement in it that are not great for skin. How does that look? Oh, that looks very nice.
Looks pretty good.
So that's like the texture of natural peanut butter. Spreadable, not runny. So now we're ready to grout the mosaic. So I've got the mosaic here, and don't be shocked, but what we do is we put the grout right on top of our tiles. I use the putty knife for this.
It looks terrifying because it looks like you're wrecking what you're doing, but really we're not. You'll see.
And I don't want it to get inside the resin rose, so I'm just going to be a little bit careful there. And if it was a big mosaic, I would use the putty knife. But because it's this little mosaic, I'm just going to use my finger, my gloved finger. And I'm going to smear that grout like frosting over the whole mosaic. I want it to be on the outside of every tile. I want it to be in between every tile. That's the bottom, the top, and each side. The grout is what's going to hold the mosaic together. The glue just put the tiles down for us, but we really want the grout to do the work.
So when you're grouting your mosaic, what you can do is kind of go in every direction. Press the grout left and right,
Yes,
forward and back, and that way you're sure to get it in every single crack and crevice.
exactly. And I'm making sure that it's along the edges here. And I do want some of the grout over the top of the wood too. I don't want the wood to show. I want the wood to look like the grout color. I'm just smearing a little bit of the grout onto the wood there. And we'll just cover the whole mosaic this way.
And you have about 15 minutes or so to work with the
Yes,
grout before it starts really getting stiff and setting up.
I took a little excess off so it's not in my way there. But you can see I need to really push it in between these tiles. These still don't have grout between them, these two. So I kind of push it back and forth. It gets in there, over here. I want it to go right up to the edge of the rose, up under the rose a little bit. You can use a craft stick to help you with this.
Right, a toothpick can be handy also.
Yeah, toothpick is good.
We are only mixing up enough for this one little mosaic, just because we don't want to waste our grout. But if you were doing this as a group, at a party or something, you could
Yes.
mix up more and have a couple people grout at the same time.
Yes. If you're doing a very big project and you didn't think you could do all the grouting in 15 minutes, if it was going to take you too long, you could mix the grout in batches and just grout an area and make a new batch and then grout the next area. I just want to make sure I'm pushed up against the resin rose there. And we can clear off any grout that gets on the rose. We can just scrape that right off. So I'm just going to go one more time around the outside edge and make sure we're in all those crevices.
So she's smoothing all the way around the edge so that you end up with a somewhat smooth edge.
Yes. And then I can see I still need some inside the rose area. I'm actually going to remove my glove for this and use the putty knife to give me a little bit more control. And I'm just going to take the knife and just gently tuck a little bit of grout into the area under the rose like that.
Yeah, the corner of that putty knife is nice and sharp, so you can really get in there.
I'm just adding a little bit more grout there so I can slide this up under this part. So you can see it's important that we glued those tiles down because all this pushing around, we would just have a mash of tiles. They wouldn't stay put. So then I'm just going to scrape any excess off the top. Use the putty knife for that. And go around the edges a little bit that way too.
This will make the buffing process a lot easier.
Yeah. And then you can see we've lost our mosaic completely. It's a sad day, isn't it? Not really, because we can use a damp sponge to reveal the mosaic. So we're just going to gently sponge it. The grout is still wet and we don't want to remove any of the grout that's between the tiles, but we just want to get that top layer of grout off. And the little haze that's left there, the little white streaking, that's fine. That's going to be easy to remove later. And then once we've done this first pass of cleaning the tiles off, we're going to let it dry for about 15 minutes. Oh, that looks really good.
Yeah, it's starting to really show up here.
Yeah, that's looking good. And then we'll show you how to buff the tiles perfectly clean.
We waited 15 minutes to allow a haze to form over our tiles, and now we're ready to buff.
So this is the next step after you grout. You let that haze form and then you use a damp sponge and just wipe that haze right off and it cleans up the tiles beautifully. Usually you only have to do this step one time, but sometimes you can check back on your mosaic after another half hour and there'll be a little bit of haze left. And in that case, it often works to use a little dry paper towel to wipe that off. And I'm just going to do each tile individually. I'm trying not to touch the grout that's in between the tiles because it's not completely set up yet. I don't want to dig any out. This has a little bit of glue stuck on top of the tile. And I can just scrape that off with my fingernail like that.
Great.
So I'm just going to keep on finding clean spots on my sponge to wipe the haze off the tiles. And then we will let this set up overnight We'll give it a coat of sealer using a foam paintbrush, and our mosaic will be completely finished.